You can change your name. I changed mine 3 times. You can change your hair. I cut my dreads and went straight, then went back to curls just to throw them off. You can move from Seoul to West Baltimore, hide in the hood, and pray the shadows don't follow you home. But there is one thing you cannot change. One thing you can't hide no matter how hard you try. Genetics. Genetics is a snitch. I looked at my daughter, Aaliyah, sitting at the kitchen table doing her homework. She's 9 years old. Beautiful, smart. She's got my nose, my smile, my skin, that deep, glowing cocoa color. But then she looked up at me, and my heart stopped. Because looking back at me weren't my eyes, they were his. Amber. Not brown, not hazel, amber, like whiskey held up to a flame. Cold, beautiful, dangerous. They were the eyes of Kang Min-ho, the dragon of the East, the head of the Shadow Lotus Syndicate, and the man I stole her from 9 years ago. Wait, stop. I know what you're thinking. Girl, you stole a mafia king's baby? Are you crazy? Yeah, maybe. But before you judge me, you need to know what it feels like to be in love with a monster. You need to know why I ran. You need to know about the blood on the floor of the penthouse suite in Gangnam. Because trust me, if I hadn't run, we'd both be dead. But we aren't dead. Not yet. Because 3 days ago, the black SUVs rolled into my neighborhood. It was Tuesday. Taco Tuesday, specifically. Aaliyah loves Taco Tuesday. I was at the stove in our little 2-bedroom walk-up on Fayette Street. It wasn't much, but it was ours. The rent was cheap, the neighbors looked out for us, and most importantly, it was invisible. Mama, Aaliyah groaned, tapping her pencil on the table. Why I gotta learn long division? I got a calculator on your phone. I chuckled, stirring the ground turkey. Because, baby girl, when the battery dies, you still gotta know how the numbers add up. The math always has to make sense. The math. 9 years. I left Seoul 9 years and 2 months ago. Aaliyah is 9 years old. The math was the one thing I couldn't hide. Go wash your hands, Lily, I said. She hopped off the chair. Yes, ma'am. She ran down the hall. I watched her go. My heart squeezed. It always did. Every day she was safe felt like a stolen treasure. The neighborhood went quiet. You know how it is in Baltimore. When the block goes quiet, you pay attention. I turned down the stove. I walked to the front window and peeked through the blinds. My blood turned to ice water. Black SUVs, Escalades, tinted windows, bulletproof tires. 1, 2, 4 of them, parked right in front of my building. This wasn't the police. Police in Baltimore drive Fords and make noise. This was wealth. This was power. This was him. Aaliyah, I hissed. She poked her head out of the bathroom. Mama? Closet, now, like we practiced. We had a game, hide and seek. She thought it was fun. She saw the look on my face. The fun vanished. Mama? Go, baby, now. I grabbed her, shoving her into the back of my bedroom closet behind the winter coats. I kissed her forehead. Don't make a sound. No matter what you hear, do not come out until I say the code word. Purple rain? She whispered, trembling. Purple rain. Go. I closed the closet door. I ran to the kitchen drawer. I moved the silverware tray. Underneath was a Glock 19. I checked the mag, full. I wasn't the scared little girl I was in Seoul anymore. I was a mother, and I would put a bullet in the devil himself before I let her take her. I stood in the hallway, leveling the gun at the door. Who is it? I called out. My voice was steady, Baltimore strong. Silence. Then a voice, smooth, deep, accented. A voice that used to whisper promises against my skin. Open the door, Tiana. Min-ho. My knees almost buckled. I'm calling the police, I shouted. The police will not come. I bought the precinct an hour ago. Open the door or my men will take it off the hinges. I took a breath. I unlocked the deadbolt. I swung the door open, keeping the gun aimed right at his chest. There he was, Kang Min-ho, 9 years older, a little leaner, a scar cutting through his left eyebrow that wasn't there before. He wore a charcoal suit that cost more than my entire apartment building. Raindrops glistened on his black trench coat. Behind him, 6 men stood like statues holding umbrellas. But Min-ho stood in the rain. He looked at the gun. Then he looked at my eyes. He didn't flinch. "You're late for dinner," he said softly. "Go to hell, Min-ho. I've been there. It's lonely without you." He stepped forward. "Take another step and I shoot," I warned. "Do it," he said. "If that is what you need to do, shoot me. But I am not leaving without my family." He walked right into the barrel of the gun. He pressed his chest against it. I couldn't pull the trigger. God help me, I couldn't do it. He reached up, his hand warm and large, and gently took the gun from my shaking hand. He handed it to one of his guards without looking away from me. "Where is she?" he asked. "I don't know what you talk about." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a photo. It was Aaliyah, playing hopscotch at school yesterday. He tapped the photo. "She has my eyes, Tiana. Did you think I wouldn't see?" "She's not yours," I lied. "I met someone else right after I left." Min-ho stared at me. The air crackled. "You are a terrible liar. You always were. That's why I loved you." He pushed past me into the apartment. "Min-ho, you can't just—" "Aaliyah," he called out. His voice boomed, filling the small space. "Aaliyah, come out." Silence. Then a creak. The closet door. I spun around. "Aaliyah, no!" She stepped out into the hallway. She was holding her stuffed rabbit. She looked small, terrified. She looked at me. Then she looked at the tall stranger dripping rainwater onto our cheap carpet. She looked up. He looked down. And the universe stopped. Because they were identical. The shape of the face, the set of the jaw, and the amber eyes. Min-ho dropped to his knees. The great dragon, the killer, the kingpin, he fell to his knees on my dirty floor. He stared at her like she was a ghost. "Hello," Aaliyah whispered. Min-ho's voice broke, a sound I never thought I'd hear, a sob. "And Young," he whispered. "Hello, my daughter." To understand the pain in his face, you have to go back. I was 22. Fresh out of J school, working a fellowship in Seoul. I was hungry for a story. I wanted to expose the corruption in the chaebol system. I didn't plan on falling for the head of the syndicate. I met him at a jazz bar in Itaewon. He wasn't wearing a suit then, just a leather jacket and a look that said he wanted to burn the world down. We talked for hours. He didn't tell me who he was. I didn't tell him I was a reporter. We were just Tiana and Min-ho, 2 lonely people in a city of millions. It was electric, the kind of love that consumes you. We spent 6 months in a bubble. Then I found the file. I was at his apartment, he was in the shower. His phone buzzed. I looked. It was a hit order, a photo of a politician, and a text, "Done." Then I opened his drawer. Guns, passports, and a file on me. He knew who I was. He knew I was a reporter, and he was using me. Or so I thought. That same day, I took the pregnancy test. Positive. I panicked. I thought, he's a killer. He's using me. If I tell him about this baby, he will own me forever. So I ran. I went to the airport. I bought a ticket to anywhere. I disappeared. I didn't know that the hit order I saw was to protect me. The politician had threatened to expose me. Min-ho killed him to keep me safe. I didn't know that until tonight. Back in the apartment, Min-ho reached out a hand to Aaliyah. She flinched. He froze. The pain in his eyes was raw. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "I'm your appa, your daddy." "Mama said my daddy was away," Aaliyah said, looking at me. "Mama lied," Min-ho said, his eyes drilling into me. "Mama stole you." "I saved her," I screamed. "Look at you, Min-ho. Look at the men outside. You bring death wherever you go. I wanted her to have a life, a real life, not bulletproof vests and bodyguards." Min-ho stood up. The sadness was gone.
replaced by the cold, hard steel of the king. And look at where she is, he sneered. A shack, wearing cheap clothes, while my enemies hunt you. What? Why do you think I am here, Tiana? Because I missed you? No, I am here because the Viper clan found you first. They put a bounty on the girl with the amber eyes. They were coming tonight to kill her. My stomach dropped. You're lying. Am I? The front window exploded. Get down, Min-ho roared. He tackled me and Aaliyah, covering our bodies with his. Bullets tore through the drywall. My vases shattered. The taco meat on the stove took a round. Min-ho returned fire through the window. 2 shots, 2 screams outside. He looked at me. Do you believe me now, Tiana? Yes, I sobbed, clutching Aaliyah. Then we go, now. He grabbed Aaliyah. No, I can walk, she screamed. I've got you, he said firmly. He hoisted her onto his hip like she weighed nothing. He grabbed my hand. Run. We ran out the back door, into the alley. It was chaos. Min-ho's men were engaging with shooters in ski masks. To the car, Min-ho yelled. He shoved us into the back of an armored Maybach. He jumped in after us. Go, go! The car peeled out. I looked back at my apartment building, my home. I saw smoke rising. My life in Baltimore was gone. I looked at Aaliyah. She was crying, burying her face in Min-ho's expensive coat. He was stroking her hair. His hand was trembling. I have you, he whispered in Korean. Appa is here. He looked at me. You ran for 9 years, and now you are going to give me back every single day you stole. Where are we going? I asked, wiping tears. Home, he said. Seoul.
You think 14 hours is a long time? Try sitting in a metal tube at 40,000 feet with the man you betrayed while your secret daughter sleeps 5 feet away. It felt like 14 years. Aaliyah was knocked out. The adrenaline dump had left her curled up in one of those plush cream leather seats, clutching her rabbit like it was the only real thing left in the world. I watched her chest rise and fall. Then I looked at him. Min-ho was sitting across the aisle. He'd taken off the wet jacket. He was staring out the window at the black sky, nursing a glass of whiskey. He hadn't spoken since takeoff. The silence was loud. It was heavy. It was suffocating. Why didn't you come? I asked. My voice sounded small in the cabin. You have the resources of a small country, Min-ho. If you really wanted to find me 9 years ago, you would have. He didn't look away from the window. I did look, he said. His voice was gravel. I tore Seoul apart. I tracked your credit cards. I tracked your passport. I ditched those in Tokyo, I said. I know. I tracked you to a flight manifest, Flight 802 to Manila. My breath hitched. That plane went down over the Pacific, he finished, finally turning to look at me. His eyes were red-rimmed. I never got on it, I whispered. I switched tickets with a backpacker for cash in the terminal. I flew to Guam, then Hawaii, then DC. He laughed, a dry, broken sound. I mourned you, Tiana. For 2 years I wore black. I built a shrine in the family temple. I buried an empty casket. He stood up, the glass trembling in his hand. You didn't chase me because I thought you were dead. I thought I had failed to protect you. And all the while, you were in Baltimore, making tacos, raising my daughter? I was protecting her, I hissed, keeping my voice low so Aaliyah wouldn't wake. I saw the hit list, Min-ho. I saw the violence. I didn't want her growing up wondering if Daddy was coming home or coming home in a bag. So you stole her? I saved her. You stole her right to know who she is. You stole my right to hold her. He slammed the glass down. It didn't break, but the sound echoed. He walked over to where Aaliyah was sleeping. He knelt down. He hovered his hand over her curls, terrified to touch her. She looks like you, he whispered, but she sleeps like me, fists curled, ready to fight. He looked up at me. The anger was gone, replaced with a fatigue so deep it looked painful. You let me mourn a ghost, Tiana. I will never forgive you for that. I looked away. I didn't ask for forgiveness, I said. I asked for safety. Then sleep, he said.
walking back to his seat. Because where we are going, you will need your strength. I fell asleep eventually. When I woke, the air was different, thin, cold. We landed on a private strip in the mountains outside Seoul. Aaliyah woke up groggy. Mama, are we in Korea? Yeah, baby, we're in Korea. We got into another convoy. We drove for an hour, winding up roads that shouldn't exist. Then I saw it. I expected the penthouse in Gangnam, the glass box in the sky. This wasn't that. This was a fortress. High stone walls topped with razor wire, traditional Korean curved roofs sitting on top of modern steel bunkers, guards patrolling the perimeter with rifles. It was beautiful. And it was terrifying. Is this a castle? Aaliyah asked, pressing her face to the glass. Something like that, Min-ho muttered. We pulled into the courtyard. Servants, actual servants, were lined up, bowing low. Aaliyah gripped my hand. Mama, why are they bending like that? Because your daddy is a king, I said, shooting Min-ho a look. And kings like people to bow. Respect is earned, not bought, says the man with a private army, I mumbled. We walked into the main hall. It smelled of incense and old money. And there she was, sitting on a high-backed wooden chair like it was a throne. Madame Park, the dowager of the Shadow Lotus. I had only met her once, 9 years ago. She had looked at me like a cockroach she wanted to squash but didn't want to dirty her shoe. She hadn't changed. She was tiny, wearing a pristine gray hanbok. Her hair was pulled back so tight it pulled her eyes into slits. Min-ho stopped. He bowed slightly. Mother. She didn't look at him. She looked at me. Then her gaze slid down to Aaliyah. Aaliyah hid behind my leg. Smart girl. So, Madame Park said. Her English was perfect, clipped and cold. The prodigal son returns, and he brings strays. They are not strays, Min-ho said, his voice tightening. This is Tiana, and this is Aaliyah, my daughter. Madame Park stood up. She walked over to us. Her steps were silent. She stopped in front of Aaliyah. Look at me, child. Aaliyah peeked out. She looked up. Amber eyes met amber eyes. Madame Park recoiled, just a fraction. She saw it. She couldn't deny it. But she tried. Mixed, she spat. The word hung in the air like a curse. Impure blood. And you bring her into the house of the lotus? You shame your father's memory. She is my blood, Min-ho said. Is she? Madame Park sneered. She turned to me. Or she's just another trick by the American whore who ran away. How many men have you been with, girl? How do we know this mongrel belongs to us? I stepped forward. The Baltimore in me woke up. I was ready to throw hands with an old lady in a hanbok. I didn't care who she was. You don't call my child a mongrel. Now you listen here, you ancient witch, I started. Silence. It wasn't her voice. It was Min-ho. His shout echoed off the rafters. He stepped between us. He didn't look at his mother. He looked at the guards lining the room. Do you see this woman? Do you see this child? The guards nodded, terrified. This woman is the mother of my heir. This child is the future of the Shadow Lotus. He turned on his mother. He towered over her. You want a DNA test? Fine, I will give you the blood from my own veins if I have to. But know this, mother. If you ever speak to my family with disrespect again, I will forget that you gave birth to me. He grabbed my hand. He grabbed Aaliyah's hand. She is not a stray, he said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. She is the queen, and the girl is the princess. Show respect or leave my house. Madame Park went pale. She sat back down, trembling with rage. Min-ho didn't wait for an answer. Come, he said to us. He led us up the grand staircase. Aaliyah looked up at him with wide eyes. Is Grandma mean? Aaliyah asked. Min-ho looked down at her and his face softened. Yes, he said. But don't worry, Daddy is meaner. We walked into the guest wing. He opened the door to a bedroom that was bigger than my entire apartment in Baltimore. He stood at the door, awkward suddenly. You are safe here. Rest. He turned to leave. Min-ho, I called. He stopped. Thank you for what you said down there. He didn't turn around. I didn't say it for you. I said it because it's true. He closed the door. I fell asleep eventually. When I woke, the air was different, thin, cold. We landed on a private strip in the mountains outside Seoul. Aaliyah woke up groggy. Mama, are we in Korea? Yeah, baby, we're in Korea. We got into another convoy. We drove for an hour, winding up roads that shouldn't exist. Then I saw it. I expected the penthouse in Gangnam, the glass box in the sky. This wasn't that. This was a fortress. High stone walls topped with razor wire, traditional Korean curved roofs sitting on top of modern steel bunkers, guards patrolling the perimeter with rifles. It was beautiful. And it was terrifying. Is this a castle? Aaliyah asked, pressing her face to the glass. Something like that, Min-ho muttered. We pulled into the courtyard. Servants, actual servants, were lined up, bowing low. Aaliyah gripped my hand. Mama, why are they bending like that? Because your daddy is a king, I said, shooting Min-ho a look. And kings like people to bow. Respect is earned, not bought, says the man with a private army, I mumbled. We walked into the main hall. It smelled of incense and old money. And there she was, sitting on a high-backed wooden chair like it was a throne. Madame Park, the dowager of the Shadow Lotus. I had only met her once, 9 years ago. She had looked at me like a cockroach she wanted to squash but didn't want to dirty her shoe. She hadn't changed. She was tiny, wearing a pristine gray hanbok. Her hair was pulled back so tight it pulled her eyes into slits. Min-ho stopped. He bowed slightly. Mother. She didn't look at him. She looked at me. Then her gaze slid down to Aaliyah. Aaliyah hid behind my leg. Smart girl. So, Madame Park said. Her English was perfect, clipped and cold. The prodigal son returns, and he brings strays. They are not strays, Min-ho said, his voice tightening. This is Tiana, and this is Aaliyah, my daughter. Madame Park stood up. She walked over to us. Her steps were silent. She stopped in front of Aaliyah. Look at me, child. Aaliyah peeked out. She looked up. Amber eyes met amber eyes. Madame Park recoiled, just a fraction. She saw it. She couldn't deny it. But she tried. Mixed, she stat. The word hung in the air like a curse. Impure blood. And you bring her into the house of the lotus? You shame your father's memory. She is my blood, Min-ho said. Is she? Madame Park sneered. She turned to me. Or she's just another trick by the American whore who ran away. How many men have you been with, girl? How do we know this mongrel belongs to us? I stepped forward. The Baltimore in me woke up. I was ready to throw hands with an old lady in a hanbok. I didn't care who she was. You don't call my child a mongrel. Now you listen here, you ancient witch, I started. Silence.
You know what's harder than running for your life? Living with the person you ran from. We'd been in the fortress for 2 weeks. It was a golden cage, literally. Gold fixtures in the bathroom, gold embroidery on the silk sheets, gold rims on the plates we ate off of. And the tension? You could cut it with a knife. Min-ho and I slept in separate wings. East wing for the king, west wing for the guests. But the house was designed so that every hallway, every balcony seemed to lead back to him. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to get water, and I'd find him in the kitchen, staring into the fridge like it held the secrets to the universe. He wouldn't wear a shirt, just sweatpants and those tattoos, the lotus flowers winding up his ribs, the scars from knife fights I never asked about. He'd look at me. I'd look at him. We wouldn't say a word. The air would just get hot, tight, charged with 9 years of I hate you and I miss you. Then I'd grab my water and run back to my room like a teenager. But the real comedy? That was Min-ho trying to be a dad. The man runs a criminal empire spanning 3 continents. He can negotiate with triads and cartels. But put him in a room with a 9-year-old girl from Baltimore? He crumbled. It started on a Tuesday. I was in the garden reading. Aaliyah ran up to me, eyes wide. Mama, Mama, come look. I followed her to the courtyard. There, standing on the pristine cobblestones, was a pony. Not a toy. A real, live, breathing Shetland pony with a pink bow on its head. And standing next to it, looking incredibly proud of himself, was Min-ho. What is that? I asked. It is a horse, Min-ho stated. For Aaliyah. I read that little girls like ponies. Aaliyah looked at the horse, then at Min-ho. She looked terrified. Does it bite? She whispered.
No, Min-ho said confidently. It is trained. It cost $50,000. 50,000 Min-ho? I snapped. You can't just buy her a horse. We live on a mountain. Who's gonna feed it? Who's gonna shovel the poop? He frowned. I have staff for the poop. Aaliyah tugged on his expensive suit jacket. Daddy? He froze. He still wasn't used to the word. He knelt down, ignoring the dust on his pants. Yes, Aaliyah? I don't really like horses. They have big teeth. He looked crushed, like she'd just rejected a peace treaty. Oh, then what do you like? Aaliyah reached into her pocket and pulled out a battered box of Uno cards. I like Uno. Mama beats me every time because she cheats. Can you play? Min-ho looked at the cards. He looked at the $50,000 pony. He looked at me. She cheats, he asked. I do not cheat, I lied. I strategize. Min-ho stood up. He waved a hand at a guard. Take the horse away. Then he sat down right there on the cobblestones, legs crossed. Deal the cards, daughter. Show me how to defeat your mother. We played for 3 hours. Min-ho treated Uno like high-stakes poker. He analyzed every card. He watched my face for tells. When Aaliyah hit him with a draw 4, he looked at her with genuine respect. Ruthless, he muttered. You have my blood. For the first time in 9 years, I heard him laugh. Not a dark chuckle, a real laugh. And for the first time, I looked at him and didn't see the monster. I saw the man I fell for. But the moment that really broke me happened a week later. It was wash day. If you're a black woman or you're raising a mixed child with curls, you know, wash day is a ritual. Detangling, conditioning, moisturizing. It takes time. It takes patience. I was usually the one to do it. But that night, I had a migraine. I was lying in the dark, trying not to throw up. I heard Aaliyah in the bathroom. I heard water. Then I heard a deep voice. Why are there so many bottles? I dragged myself out of bed. I crept to the bathroom door and peeked in. Min-ho was sitting on the edge of the tub, sleeves rolled up. Aaliyah was sitting between his knees on a stool, a towel around her shoulders. Her hair was a wet, tangled cloud. He was holding a wide-tooth comb like it was a bomb defusal tool. It hurts, Aaliyah whined as he tugged. I am sorry, he murmured, looking panicked. It is stuck. You have to start at the bottom, Daddy, not the roots. The bottom. Okay. He tried again, gently. His large, scarred hands that had held guns and broken bones, were moving with agonizing slowness. He was terrified of hurting her. I leaned against the doorframe. You need the leave-in conditioner, I whispered. He jumped. He looked at me, caught. She needed help. You were sick. It's the pink bottle, I said, walking in. I didn't take over. I sat on the edge of the tub next to him. Put a dollop in your hand, rub it together. Now work it through sections. He followed my instructions. His focus was intense. He frowned in concentration as he worked the conditioner through her curls, watching them spring back into shape. It is soft, he said, surprised. Yeah, it's beautiful hair, but you gotta be patient with it. He finished detangling. Aaliyah was sleepy now, head drooping. All done, I whispered. Go to bed, baby girl. I'll braid it in the morning. She hopped up, kissed his cheek, night, Daddy, and ran off. We were alone in the steamy bathroom. Min-ho didn't move. He was staring at his hands covered in conditioner foam. I missed this, he whispered. I missed the mundane, the knots, the soap, the things normal fathers know. He looked up at me. His eyes were amber liquid. You look tired, Min-ho murmured. I am tired, Min-ho. I'm tired of running from you. I'm tired of fighting you. Then stop, he whispered. He leaned in. His forehead rested against mine. Stop fighting. Let me protect you. Let me be the man you need. Our breath mingled. My heart was hammering a hole in my chest. I wanted to kiss him. God, I wanted to kiss him. I tilted my head up. His lips brushed mine, a feather-light promise. Then the radio on his belt crackled. Boss, perimeter breach in Sector 4. He pulled back instantly. The father was gone. The dragon was back. Stay here, he ordered, his voice cold again. He walked out, and I was left standing in the bathroom, shivering, with the taste of him still on my lips. The breach was a false alarm, a deer tripping a sensor, but the adrenaline didn't leave. Later that night, I found him in the library. He was drinking. "It was a deer," he said without turning around. "It won't always be a deer, you know that. The vipers are still out there. Your brother is still plotting. I will handle it." "Like you handled everything else? By killing people? By making more enemies?" He spun around. "You kept me alive. For 3 months in Seoul, I kept you alive." "I kept you a prisoner," I shouted, "and now you're doing it to her. She can't leave the walls. She has no friends. She's living in a fortress, Min-ho. That's not a childhood. It is a life, which is more than she would have if they found her." We were screaming now, 9 years of repressed anger exploding. I should have stayed in Baltimore. You would be dead in Baltimore. He stormed over to me. He grabbed my arms, not hurting me, but holding me still. "Look at me, Tiana. Look at me." I looked. "I am trying," he said, cracking. "I'm trying to build a world where you don't have to run, but you have to trust me. You have to stop looking at the door." I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the exhaustion, the fear, the love he tried so hard to bury under the suits and the guns. "I'm not looking at the door," I whispered. "I'm looking at you." He made a sound, half groan, half growl. And then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle like in the bathroom. It was desperate. It was hungry. It was a collision. He lifted me up onto the library desk, knocking over a stack of files. My hands tangled in his hair. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me flush against him. "You are mine," he murmured against my mouth. "Then keep me," I breathed back. "Don't just guard me, Min-ho. Keep me." That night, the East Wing and the West Wing didn't matter. That night, the walls came down. We didn't solve our problems. The vipers were still hunting us. His mother still hated me. But lying in his arms, listening to his heartbeat slow down, I realized something. I hadn't just run away from danger 9 years ago. I had run away from the only man who ever made me feel alive. And now that I was back, I wasn't going anywhere.
They say you never hear the bullet that hits you. I think that's true for life, too. You never hear the moment your world is about to shatter. It's always quiet right before. It was 3 days after Min-ho and I reconnected. 3 days of uneasy peace. We were in the West Wing. Aaliyah was asleep in her room. The pony, which Min-ho had stubbornly refused to return, was asleep in the stables, and Min-ho was asleep next to me. I was awake, watching him breathe, tracing the scar on his shoulder. I was thinking about the future. Maybe we could make this work. Maybe we could be a family. Then the world shattered. Min-ho was out of bed before his eyes were open, gun in hand. "Red alert. Perimeter breach. Sector 1, 2, and 3. "That's everywhere," I said, grabbing my robe. "That's a siege. Get Aaliyah. Go to the panic room. Do not stop. Do not look back." He kissed me hard once, like it was goodbye. "I love you," he said. Then he ran into the hallway, shouting orders in Korean. I ran to Aaliyah's room. Empty. The bed was unmade. The window was open. "Aaliyah!" I screamed. I looked out the window. The courtyard was a war zone. Smoke everywhere. Men in black tactical gear, the vipers, swarming the walls. And there, being dragged across the lawn by 2 men, kicking and screaming, was a little girl in pink pajamas. My blood didn't turn to ice. It turned to lava. Min-ho was fighting at the main gate. He couldn't see her. The guards were overwhelmed. I didn't have a weapon. I didn't have backup. But I had Baltimore, and I had a mother's rage. I didn't run to the panic room. I ran to the utility closet in the hallway. I grabbed a fire extinguisher, heavy, steel. I kicked off my slippers. Barefoot was quieter. I ran down the back stairs, slipping through the smoke. I burst out the side door. 2 men dragging Aaliyah were struggling. She was biting, scratching, fighting like a wildcat. "Let me go!" she shrieked. "My daddy is gonna kill you!" "Shut her up," one man yelled. He raised his hand to hit her. That was his last mistake. I swung the fire extinguisher with everything I had.
It connected with the back of his helmet. He dropped like a sack of cement. The second man spun around, letting go of Aaliyah. He reached for his sidearm. He was fast, but a mother protecting her child is faster. I didn't wait. I sprayed the extinguisher right in his face. Chemical foam blinded him. He screamed, clawing at his eyes. I kicked him, hard, right between the legs. He went down. I grabbed his gun from the holster. I stood over him, chest heaving, hair wild, holding a semi-automatic like I was born with it. You touch her again, and there won't be enough left of you to bury. Aaliyah stared at me, eyes wide. Mama? Get behind me, baby, now. I checked the chamber, loaded. All right, I whispered. Let's go find Daddy. We fought our way back to the main house. I put 2 shots in a Viper who tried to flank us. I didn't even blink. We reached the grand hall, and we stopped. The fighting had stopped. Min-ho was in the center of the room. He was bleeding from his arm. He was surrounded. 20 Vipers, and their leader, a man with a snake tattoo on his face. They had their guns trained on him, but they weren't shooting because the leader was holding a detonator. The whole foundation is rigged. 1 click, Dragon, and the mountain comes down on all of us. Min-ho saw us in the doorway. His eyes widened. He shook his head minutely. Don't come in. What do you want? Min-ho asked, his voice calm. I want the Lotus. I want the territory, and I want you dead. If you blow the house, you don't get the territory. You want a trade. The snake smiled. Smart. Yes, a trade. You come with us. You sign over the accounts. You die on your knees in our warehouse. And the woman and the brat, they walk away. Min-ho looked at the detonator. He looked at his decimated guards. Then he looked at me and Aaliyah. He smiled. A sad, beautiful smile. Deal. No! I screamed, stepping out. Min-ho, no! Tiana, he said, his voice carried across the room. Take her. Go to the safe house in Jeju. G1 knows the way. I'm not leaving you. You have to, because she needs her mother more than she needs a martyr. He dropped his gun. He raised his hands. Let them leave, he commanded the snake. Or I fight you right here and we all blow up. The snake nodded. Let the girls go. The Vipers parted. Min-ho walked towards them. He walked into the trap. He stopped right in front of me. He didn't touch me. He just looked at Aaliyah. Remember, he whispered to her, you are a queen. Do not bow. Then he looked at me. I love you, he mouthed. They cuffed him. They dragged him out. The engines roared, and he was gone. The great hall was silent. Min-ho's remaining men, the ghost unit, were beaten, bloody, heads down. G1, his right hand, was packing a bag. What are you doing? I asked. My voice was hollow. We must disperse, Ms. Washington, he said quietly. The dragon is taken. The Lotus has fallen. We need to hide you before they come back. I looked at Aaliyah. She wasn't crying anymore. She was angry. Her amber eyes were burning holes in the floor. She looked just like him. And I realized I couldn't hide anymore. I hid for 9 years, and it led to this. Min-ho sacrificed himself because he thought I was the woman who ran, the woman who needed saving. He forgot who I was. I'm Tiana Renee Washington. I'm from West Baltimore, and we don't run when family is on the line. Stop packing, I said. G1 stopped. Ms. Washington, I said stop. I walked to the center of the room, where Min-ho had stood. Is this it? I asked, my voice rising. Is this the legendary Shadow Lotus? Your king gives himself up to save us, and you run like rats? There are too many of them, a guard muttered. We have no leader. You have a leader, I said. I reached into my robe pocket. I pulled out the gun I took from the Viper. I slammed a fresh magazine in. The click echoed in the hall. Min-ho said I was his queen. Did you hear him? The men looked up, uneasy. Yes, G1 said. Then listen to your queen. I looked at Aaliyah. Aaliyah, go with the nanny to the bunker. Lock the door. Mama, what are you going to do? I leaned down and kissed her forehead. I'm gonna go get your daddy back. I turned to the men, 30 hardened killers, looking at a woman in a silk robe holding a Glock. I ran once. I ran halfway across the world because I was scared, but I ain't running again. Not tonight, not ever. I looked at G1. You know where they took him? The warehouse district, Sector 9. Good. Load up the SUVs. Grab every weapon we have. Ms. Washington, G1 said, a slow smile spreading across his bloody face. That is a suicide mission. I smirked, a Baltimore smirk. Then let's make it a loud one. I walked out into the rain. I didn't feel the cold. I felt the fire. They took my man. They threatened my child. They thought they had won, but they forgot one thing. You can take the dragon out of the fight, but you can never, ever underestimate the lioness.
The thing about gunfights, they're loud, they're chaotic, but the silence afterwards, that's the loudest thing I've ever heard. I walked through the warehouse. My bare feet were cut up from glass. I was holding the Glock loose at my side, the barrel still hot. Smoke hung in the air like a curtain. I stepped over bodies, vipers, men who tried to take my daughter. I didn't feel pity. I felt finalized. I found him in the back office. Min-ho was slumped against a desk. His white shirt was red. His face was bruised. One eye was swollen shut. But the other eye, that amber eye, was open, and it was looking right at me. I dropped the gun. I ran to him. I slid on my knees across the concrete. Min-ho! He groaned, trying to sit up. He touched my face with a bloody hand. I told you, he wheezed, to go to Jeju. And I told you, I sobbed, pressing my forehead against his chest, listening for a heartbeat. I don't take orders from you anymore. He let out a breath that sounded like a laugh. Stubborn, he whispered. My stubborn, foolish, beautiful queen. Is it done? I asked. He nodded toward the corner. The snake, the viper leader, wasn't moving. It is done, Min-ho said. The Shadow Lotus has no rivals tonight. I don't care about the lotus, I said, kissing his bloodied knuckles. I care about the man. G1 and the rest of the ghost unit burst in a moment later. They looked at the carnage, they looked at me, and for the first time, they didn't just bow out of duty, they bowed out of fear and respect. They put Min-ho on a stretcher. As they carried him out, he reached for my hand. Where is Aaliyah? Promised, safe, waiting for her daddy. He spent 3 days in the ICU. Collapsed lung, broken ribs, concussion. I sat in the chair next to his bed. Aaliyah sat on the bed, reading him Harry Potter. You see, Daddy, she explained, pointing at a picture. Voldemort is bad because he wants power too much. Min-ho looked at me. The irony wasn't lost on him. On the 4th day, Ji-woon came in. He was holding a briefcase. Boss, he said, the territories are secure. The vipers are scattered. We need your orders for the restructuring. Min-ho sat up. He winced. He looked at the briefcase. Then he looked at Aaliyah, who was sleeping at the foot of his bed. He looked at her hands, clean, innocent, unstained by the world he built. Then he looked at his own hands. No orders, Min-ho said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. Min-ho, I whispered, what are you doing? I cannot be the king and the father, he said. I tried, and I almost got you both killed. I have to choose. He reached into the briefcase. He pulled out the signet ring of the dragon, heavy gold, the symbol of absolute power in the soul underworld. He held it out to Ji-woon. You have been loyal. You know the codes. You know the men. Take it. Boss, I cannot. Take it, Min-ho commanded. The Shadow Lotus needs a leader, but Aaliyah needs a father, and Tiana needs a husband who comes home at night. Ji-woon took the ring. He bowed lower than I'd ever seen a man bow. I will protect your legacy, Min-ho said. No, Min-ho replied, taking my hand. My legacy is sitting right here. We didn't wait. We couldn't stay in Seoul. It was too dangerous for a retired king. But before we left, we had to do one thing. We got married in the courtyard of the fortress, one last time before we handed the keys over. It wasn't a royal wedding. It was us, a mashup, a remix. I wore a white gown with lace sleeves. Min-ho wore a traditional hanbok in deep royal blue.
We had soul food, greens, mac and cheese, fried chicken, served right next to galbi and kimchi. My mama flew in from Baltimore. She took one look at Min-ho, looked at his scars, looked at how he held Aaliyah, and said, "He looks like trouble, but he looks like he loves you. I'll allow it." That's high praise from mama. We did the payback ceremony. We bowed to his ancestors. We caught dates and chestnuts in my skirt to predict how many more kids we'd have, which Min-ho caught way too many, and I told him he was dreaming. And then we jumped the broom, right there in the middle of Seoul, a broomstick decorated with ribbons and lotus flowers. "Ready?" he asked me, holding my hand. "Ready," I said. We jumped, and we landed in a new life. Lake Como is beautiful this time of year. The water is blue, the mountains are green, and nobody knows who we are. It's been 5 years. I'm sitting on the terrace of our villa, typing the last page of my book. It's a novel, fiction, about a reporter who falls in love with a spy. Min-ho says the love scenes are too accurate, but I told him to hush. "Mom," a voice yells from the dock. "Aaliyah. She's 14 now, 14 going on 30. She's tall. She's got her hair in long braids today. She's wearing sunglasses and an attitude." "Mom, Dad is burning the burgers," I laugh. I look down at the grill. Min-ho is there. He's wearing linen pants and a t-shirt, no holster, no suit. He's flipping burgers and arguing with the charcoal. He looks up. He sees me watching him. He smiles. The scar over his eye crinkles. He's just a dad now. He drives Aaliyah to soccer practice. He complains about the price of gas. He learned how to make gumbo. It's still too spicy, but I eat it. The dragon is asleep. The king is retired. I close my laptop. I walk down to the dock. Aaliyah runs past me to jump in the lake. She pulls off her sunglasses. She looks back at me to shout something, and the sun hits her face. Those eyes. Amber. Bright. Clear. Unafraid. I remember the fear I felt 9 years ago. I remember the rain in Baltimore. I remember the gun in my hand. I walked over to Min-ho. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. He leaned back into me. "Is it finished?" he asked, meaning the book. "Yeah, it's finished." "Does it have a happy ending?" "The best kind, the boring kind." He turned around in my arms. He kissed my forehead. "I love you, Tiana. I love you, Min-ho." I looked out at the water, at our daughters swimming in the sun, at the man who burned his empire down to warm my hands. And I realized the truth. For 9 years, I thought he was the villain of my story. I thought he came to Baltimore to take what was his, to drag me back to the darkness. But in the end, he tracked us down to set us free.